Hello everyone and welcome to my workshop. I'm Deziel and today I want to show you how to grade a legging with no side seam. Here is my legging pattern, so no seam on the side seam. And you might notice that it's a small pattern. I use a kid's pattern, but the technique to grade would be the same thing for kids or adult. The only reason why I'm using a smaller pattern is for you to be able to see the complete pattern all the way in the video. Now about the grading. As you know, most of the pattern piece, like the bodice, the pant or the skirt, they're 1/4 of the complete garment. So usually on the side seam for bodice or skirt, we put 1/4 of the grading on the side seam. The only difference is with the pant, where we want to keep the grain line center. So we divide that 1/4 of the grading on each side of the leg. Now, if we look at the legging pattern that we have today, on this pattern you could see that there's no side seam because we put the back and the front side seam one next to the other to make it one piece. So the pattern piece is half a garment. For this grading, we'll still be able to use the grading ruler for the pant, but we'll have to consider that there's no side seam. That means on each side, we'll have to grade the side seam point and the crotch point. So we'll do the side seam movement on the crotch side as well as the crotch side grading. Now to grade the legging using this ruler, since we don't have side seam, I'm going to have to grade each of the point I want to grade twice, one time for the side seam and one time with the crotch measurement. The grading point that we'll be using are the crotch level points and the one above. Below the crotch you have another reference to grade shorts, and then you have the level for Bermuda, and finally at the end we'll use the bottom grading to grade the bottom of the legging. So to start, we'll use the side seam grading that we'll put on the 3-point crotch, notch, and the waist point, and we're going to use this one here that has only the horizontal measurement. So just like the other grading, we'll put the black dot right on the point that we want to grade. You put one of the line parallel to your grain line and you dot the size that you want. Today I'm going to skip one point or one color because usually when you do knit, you use letters for size, and letters size, you have to skip one dot. When your crotch is graded, you go to the next point using this same grading. So the black dot on the notch, parallel to the grain line, and you point the color that you pick. Same thing one more time at the waist level, always with the same grading. Now you could see I did my dot a little more visible for you. So we did grade the side seam. We now have to grade the crotch side. So you're going to turn your ruler around, and this time we're going to use the grading as it is on the ruler for the 3-point that we have to grade, but we'll do it from the graded point that we already have. So at the crotch, you put the black dot right on the graded point, grain line parallel, and indicate 2 sizes bigger. Then at the notch level, you do have a reference on your crotch side. Same thing on the graded point, and you mark 2 sizes bigger. Now we do the waist the same way. So my black dot on the graded point, parallel to the grain line, and mark 2 sizes bigger. Now to trace the crotch, we're going to use the block. You're going to place the corner, waist corner, right on your final dot. And with your block, you're going to touch the new point that you have at the notch level. So just like that. And you're going to trace from the top notch all the way to the crotch. You could also indicate both notches. Then usually what I do is that I place the corner of the crotch half distance from the original one and the new position. So I place it like that, touch the notch point again, you trace for a little bit, then you move it towards the final point like that. Now for the front side, we'll do exactly like we did in the back. So we'll use the side seam crotch level grading. Place your black dot on the crotch point, align the grain line, dot 2 sizes bigger. Now we'll use exactly the same grading and we'll place it at the end of your straight line in the front. If you don't have notch, it's okay. Just like that. Align your grain line and dot 2 sizes bigger. We do the same thing one more time at the waist using the same grading again. Now we could say that the side seam grading is done. We have to do the crutch grading. So you're going to turn your ruler around and do just like we did the other side. Use the 3 corresponding points to grade the 3 points on the legging. So first the crotch. We put the black dot right on the graded point of the crotch. Align your grain line and point 2 sizes bigger. Now the end of the straight line, or if you have a notch, use the notch. Black dot on the graded point. Align the grain line and 2 sizes bigger. Finally, the waist point, same thing. The black dot on the graded point. Grain line align and point 2 sizes bigger. Now to retrace the crotch, we use the block again and we do exactly the same thing. So from the waist, you touch the waist point, put the block right to the next point, then trace from the top with the notch all the way to the reference. Then we're going to move little by little towards the final point. Now to retrace the waist, you could decide to just use your block, place it in the middle, trace the waist for a little while, move towards one side to complete your line, do the same thing on the other side. But for my part, I like to control and make sure that what I'm going to be going up is the same that I did on both crotch sides. So I do use my grading ruler and I'm going to be using the grading of the dart because it's only vertical. So I'll place the black dot on my trace line or grain line. Place your grain line parallel and just dot 2 sizes bigger. Now that we do have the reference, it will be easy to retrace the line from the center front to the side seam. Just trace, then move your block and trace the back side. Now we're ready for the easiest part. We're going to move all the way down to the bottom of the legging. Now I must remind you that here we don't have a quarter of a pant, but we do have a half pant. So just like we did on top, we'll have to grade twice. We could use the bottom of the pant grading. We'll do it on each side one first time. And then from these graded points, we'll grade one more time. Now I'm going to grade my bottom, so place the black dot right on the trace line, grading parallel and mark your 2 sizes bigger. Then move on the other side and do the same thing. So black dot, align the grain line and mark. Now my second grading, so I place the black dot of the ruler over my graded point, align the grain line and mark my 2 sizes bigger. Same thing on the other side. The black dot over my graded point, align the grain and mark your 2 sizes bigger. Now I'm ready to do the 2 last line that I have to trace. Back inseam and front inseam. I usually take my block and put it right at the crotch point. Align the bottom to the final destination. And I'm going to trace, let's say, 2/3 of the line. Then I'm going to move my block towards the final point and trace the last part so my notch move with my bottom. And I'll do that for both back and front. That's it, the grading is finished. What's the most important to remember is that since we don't have the side seam, both sides of the legging should have 1/4 of the full grading that you need. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. I see you next time.